is going on, homies? It's your boy Stumped back for another Optc video, and in today's video, we're hopping into the Garp Challenges 10-star events with the new Verse Akainu, utilizing one team to complete all 3 of the Garp Challenges. Now, I'm not 100% sure if I've actually done this with the new Navy event that's come out, but in today's video, we will be using the same team to take on Whitebeard, Eneru, and the Navy. So, I put out a poll today. Shout out to everyone that commented and actually voted, and most people said they wanted to see the Garp Challenges first. So I thought, let's bring back the one team beats all of them, as this unit is so ridiculously strong. And now, as good as Ace is, I will be focusing on Ace, do not stress, but just for the moment, we are going to be looking at Akainu, as Akainu is just that little bit more broken than Ace is, just that little bit more broken. So, the leader is our boy, Clashing Explosion Akainu. Now, his captain abilities are 5 times captain to driven powerhouse units, 1.5 times HP, which is huge. He boosts the chance of landing on quick slots, and when damage is received from the enemy, he applies Ignited status, ignoring all status effects. That includes defensive effects, so thresholds, defense up, damage reduction, full immunity. It doesn't matter. He will apply that as long as you get hit. And he applies that for 4 turns as well, which is absurd. The burn will deal 100 times the enemy's attack in non-type damage at the end of that enemy's turn. An ignited damage effect will not be applied after an enemy's preemptive action. So, say for example they do like a HP cut on entry, they get the burn, they're not going to take the damage straight away. It'll have to be after it, you know what I mean? But it's still ridiculously strong. His special does 400 times his attack in non-type damage to one enemy, changes all slots including block to quick, boosts driven and powerhouse character slot effects by 2.5 for 2 turns, which is actually really handy. And you guys will see how handy that is when you see my Kid Forest run that I'm going to actually record it straight after this. Actually, I've already done the recording. I actually did the commentary. He also set the chain multiplier for 2 turns based on the number of quick slots that you've used in normal attacks before the special is launched. It can be at 3 times if you have none, 3.25 for 8 or more, and 3.5 if you've eaten 15 or more quick orbs. So this guy's an absolute monster. His verse ability gives you a conditional boost of 1.75 for 4 turns. Makes driven and powerhouse characters quick slots have matching slot effects, which is ridiculously good. Like, again, you'll see that in the Forest run, but being able to get a guaranteed conditional boost for only eating 12 strength dex or quick orbs, which is very easy to do. Again, you will see that in the Forest run. But this guy is just an absolute monster. He has a great limit break. They have Enrage, they have Barrier Pen, and they have Slotbind removal. Their Slotbind removal is completely remove it, which is just like, it's just disgusting how strong this unit actually is. So they are our captain, and then the team looks a little bit like, nope. Yes, the team looks a little bit like this. So, there are some notable supports, and there are some notable characters that we are just going to quickly talk about. And I'm going to try not to ramble on about it for too long, but V2 Vivi Rebecca is an absolute god tier. They're not getting boosted at all on this particular team, but their special to remove bind and special bind is key for them. They also give an attack and orb boost to Cerebrals and Strikers, but besides them, that's just Sugar and Jack. But the big reason they're here is for their special bind removal for the Enel stage, as well as their bind removal from the Navy stage. They can also remove Hunger, which is great for Navy as well. So even though they're not being boosted, they actually hold a very strong place on this particular team. Next, we've got the free-to-play Moria. This guy's an absolute weapon for Whitebeard. Probably one of the best units you can actually bring for Whitebeard. His special will remove attack down and paralysis by 3 turns, as well as decrease chain multiplier. And he's on a 9-turn cooldown, which means you can pop that special off on Whitebeard twice very easily. So very good unit. And you can actually... No, you can't. I was going to say use the Dovey support, but you definitely can't. Next, we've got Sugar. Now, Sugar's actually key. I actually was using Sobble Mask initially, but Sugar's really good on this team, as she can get around the stun mechanic that's prevalent on the Eneru stage. Her special obviously turns everyone into bears and gives us a ignoring barriers and stuff effect, which is also great for Enel. But another reason that she's here is she can actually use the support of Treble. Now, Treble's support when used, the special removes damage reduction and threshold by 2 turns, which is just great for Navy. So, Sugar's just an absolute weapon and definitely a crucial unit on the team. Finally, we are running Jack. So, Treasure Map Jack's really good because he can remove defense up, damage null, damage reduction by 2 turns, and he does damage. Now, he's great for Whitebeard, and he is a striker, so he actually gets buffed from Vivi Rebecca. But you can also use the Smoker support to give yourself an attack buffs on top of that defense up, damage reduction removal that makes him so good for the Whitebeard challenge. The final thing we're going to talk about is we are using the Mama Shanta. You can get some healing, get a little bit more damage. You don't get as much HP as some other ships, but the extra damage is really, really nice. So that's the team. Enough about that. Let's dive into the runs. Alright, so we're over here at Whitebeard, and this is where traditionally I like to start these one team beats all Garp's challenges events. So with Whitebeard, the most noticeable thing that you guys want to get around is attack down. There is a little bit of paralysis, but the Moria unit that we do have on this team is like an absolute MVP for this particular piece of content. You do really want to try and find a spot for someone that can remove 3 turns of defense up or damage reduction. With this particular team, we are using Jack. We are going to have to stall a turn, but with Akainu, stalling a turn is never an issue, because it means that they're going to hit us. And when they hit us, we get that burn mechanic, we can get a conditional boost. It just works ridiculously well. On stage 2, this is where we get our first lot of attack down. We come up against the watermelon head guy. He's going to give us 3 turns of attack down, so we're just going to use our Moria special. He actually has a HP card on entry, which means that he is actually going to get the burn mechanic, which is going to give us a little bit of extra damage if we can't actually output enough to take him out. But with the switchability of VV Rebecca, the V2 VV Rebecca that is, you can actually get the chain multiplier buff, which means you can actually do enough damage to just take him out, provided you guys have enough matching orbs from the very first turn. Vivi Rebecca aren't getting boosted as mentioned in the intro, but they just work so damn well, and you guys will see why they work so well later on in some of the other Garp challenges. But on to the next stage, we come up against Higuma, Atmos, and the chain ball guy. Now, ideally, you want to try and take out Higuma and Atmos here. The guy with the chain and ball, he'll actually blow away one of your, or 2 of your units, I think, after turn 2. But other than that, he doesn't really do too much. So he's going to hit us, which means then he gets the burn, and the burn pretty much almost kills him. So we are going to use the Mama Shanta ship whenever we can. And with the switch abilities of Vivi Rebecca, we can actually get a little bit of healing. And that way we can just keep ourselves in a nice chunky HP pool. As Akainu does like to get hit, that way you can get the burn off. You eat the recovery orbs from the Mama Shanta. With the switch ability of Vivi Rebecca, we can actually get our healing back, which is really, really nice. On the next turn, we come up against Speed, Giru, Fossa, and what's his name? Iso. Now, I actually got fairly unlucky here, and Fossa was actually on a 2-turn cooldown, but as you can see, he just absolutely melts under Akainu. Like, it's not an issue whatsoever. In hindsight, you could probably actually use a verse ability here. That way you can get a little bit more damage against Iso on this particular turn. But as you guys can see, like, he does a lot of damage, but when he hits you, he gets the burn, and then the burn basically just kills him. It's just like, burn, baby, burn. Very much like that song. Akainu's just sort of jamming out. On to the next stage against Jozu. He puts up defense up and damage reduction, but he does have 3 turns. Now with Jack, he can actually only remove 2 turns. So we are, like I said before, we are going to cop a hit from our boy Jozu here, and then we can use Jack to take him out on the next turn. As you can see, with the Moria special, Moria's got such a low cooldown that even though we haven't really been stalling throughout this entire run, we actually have his special back, which works really, really well when you are doing these sort of events, or these no-stall runs. Once the defense up and damage reduction goes down to 2 turns, we can actually remove it with Jack special. And then with the support of Smoker, we can actually get an attack buff for our quick units. Because we are running a stereotypical mono-quick team, it helps us out with enough damage to take out Jozu easy peasy. When Jozu dies, though, he gives us normal attacks only for 3 turns. And this is really the only normal attacks only we see for the rest of the Garp's challenges. It's not that hard to get around either. Once we come up to the next stage against Marco and Vista, they're going to give us 3 turns of attack down, paralysis, and chain lock. So the Moria special is great here, because it can remove the attack down and the paralysis. But we are still stuck with that chain lock. We just need to stall out 1 turn to remove that. So we're going to use the Akainu special, giving us a full border orbs through blocks, a 2.5 times chain attack boost, and a 3.5 times chain lock, depending on how many quick orbs you've eaten throughout the run, obviously. But just be careful how much damage you actually do to Vista, because Vista is going to hit us, he's going to get the burn, and he's actually going to take a lot of damage at the end of his turn. As you can see, I just managed to keep Vista alive. Akainu just does so much goddamn damage that it's actually hard. Like, things just literally melt when it comes to running versus Akainu. That's a joke, but like, things literally melt. On the final stage against Ace and Whitebeard, we're basically just going to pop our specials. We're going to use the verse ability, so that way we can get the conditional boost, and then we can just basically melt both Ace and Whitebeard. With the special of Akainu, we can get an orb boost. With the special of Vivi Rebecca, we can actually get an attack boost, which is a little bit overkill. It's just for Jack and Sugar, but then once we turn everyone into bears, we basically just say goodbye to this stage. So let's move on to the next Garp challenge now. That was Whitebeard. This team does it really, really well, and doesn't have any issues whatsoever. There's like 2-shot, like ridiculous. Let's move on to Enel now. Alright, moving on to Eneru now. We are using the exact same team, and when it comes to running Enel, you really want to sort of get around stun and special bind and fear resistance. So characters like Karxma are really, really good for this particular fight. Or you could also use stuff like the Invinkov that does damage to yourself. I think you cut your HP by 1%. You can also use the support of putting on any Sanji or Reiju. That's another way to get around the stun as well. Or, like we are doing with this particular team, we are using the switchability of V2 Vivi Rebecca and Sugar to get around the special bind and the stun. Other than that, it's pretty self-explanatory, this particular fight. You do want a little bit of bind removal, I guess. It can make your run a little bit smoother, as you do get binded and special binded on the second turn against the Skypiea enemies. On this particular turn, don't stress too much because like you just want to sort of output as much damage to kill the strength one. You're not going to be able to kill like more than one, so once they hit you, Akainu's Burn's basically just going to do the rest of the heavy lifting for you, and that way we can move on to stage 3 against Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Another thing to note against the Eneru fights, or the Enel fight, is there is threshold on one of the stages, so you can bring a character to remove that, but it's not overly essential. The big thing is the stun and the special bind removal through fear resistance. On stage 3, when we come up against Otoro and Totoro, they have a great barrier for 2 turns. You have to hit 3 greats. So we're basically just going to pop one of our Akainu specials. That way we just get a massive orb boost. We get a chain lock. We have healing with the V2 Vivi Rebecca's switchability. And just literally by hitting greats, we can take out Otoro and Totoro. They give us 2 turns of burn, so you do want to be careful hitting perfects. A little bit of a missed opportunity I found with Ace vs Akainu is they still take burn damage. I just would have loved if they just negated burn damage as both of their captains. I mean, they're already overpowered, don't get me wrong, but it would just make sense, right? Like, why does burn do damage to them when they literally inflict burn on the enemy? On to the next stage, though, we come up against Wiper and 2 of his Skypiea friends. Wiper's always on a 2-turn cooldown, and as you can see, we can just blitz our way through the enemies in the back, and that way we can just take out Wiper on the next turn. The burn just does tons of damage as well, which we don't even really need, but like, it's nice to see them just melt. On to stage 5 now. We come up against, I actually do not remember these guys' names. The dude on the ball puts up that threshold that I was talking about. They roll your specials back by 3 turns, which goes down to 2 with preemptives. And they also bind your ship, which sucks, especially if you're running Psy, because you could use the little hind, which would be really, really good here. But unfortunately, it is what it is. Now, as you can see, that threshold is a little bit annoying, and we just don't manage to kill the dude on the ball, but then they actually attack us, and then the burn triggers. And I love that the fact that burn triggers before the start of the next turn, because it just stops things like interrupts. Like, that guy on the ball should have given us like 4 turns of attack down, but because the burn kicks in before his interrupt, he just melts, and it's like, okay, cool, I don't have to worry about your attack down, and I can move on to stage 6, which is just really, really cool. On stage 6, though, we come up against Gidatsu and Om. They're going to bind our bottom row for 4 turns, which will go down to 1 respective to your sockets. And then they do like end of turn damage and bind your healing. What we're going to do on this particular stage, we're going to pop our other Akainu special, and you can actually use the verse ability like whenever you guys want for this particular fight. Like, you don't really need the verse ability. The burn is great, but like, as you can see, just making your way through, like, it is literally like a hot knife through butter when it comes to these Garp challenges in Akainu. He has no issues whatsoever clearing these, and like, I mean, normal attacks only, full immunity, all that jazz just means absolutely dog shit to Akainu, and he just melts everything. It's actually absurd. On the final stage against Eneru, though, he's going to wipe away all our cumulative buffs. He uses 3 turns of Special Bind, as well as 3 turns of Fear, and he stuns our captains. So switching with Vivi Rebecca can actually remove the Special Bind. Then their Special can remove the rest of the Special Bind on the crew. Then we can use our Jack Special and our Sugar Special. Now, ideally, you want to put Jack in the bottom left, because Jack is actually a striking unit, and that's the big reason why I actually have him on this particular team. That way he actually gets the attack and the orb boost from the V2 Vivi Rebecca special, and that way you can easily take out Eneru as we just go through the barriers. So let's move on to the next fight. And for the final Garp challenge, we're coming up against the Navy. Now, this is arguably the hardest of the Garp challenges. When you are taking this on this event, you really want to bring like a character that can remove Threshold. 2 turns of it, and ideally you want to remove it twice. But with Akainu, we can actually just cheese our way through the first lot of Threshold, which is just really, really cool. Another thing you guys want to bring is like 2 turns of Despair removal, a little bit of Brine removal, whether you do that with your supports or anything like that. And you want to make sure that you bring someone that can remove Hunger, either as a limit break or someone that can give you recovery orbs. So that's another reason why V2V Rebecca was so good. They're so good for the Enel fight, and they're actually so good for this fight because they can actually remove Hunger with their limit break, as well as removing Bind with their special. And then with the support of Robin, because they remove Bind, we can remove Despair as well. So even though they're not boosted on this team, they just have such a high value on this particular team, when we are taking down all of them with the one setup, which just works really, really well. After stage 2, when we take out all these marine units, they all have like a lot of defense but really low HP. So you can just sort of like tap your way through it and you're pretty much hunky-dory. On to stage 3, where things start to get a bit tricky. We see our first lot of Threshold. Kobe and Helmeppo put up 2 turns of Threshold, and they give us 2 turns of Hunger. They also turn all recovery orbs into block slots, so they block the fact that you can't remove the Hunger. Now, a way actually to get around the Hunger if you are struggling is you can actually use the Mama Shanto with Akainu, because we are going to take the first shot, and then that way they get the burn damage. You can then use the Mama Shanto to actually give yourself a recovery orb, but with V2 Viva Rebecca, we can easily remove it with their Limit Break, which works really, really nice. We're just going to rely on the burn, basically, to take this particular stage out, as we don't actually have anyone on this particular team that can remove Threshold, except for the support of Treble. But we are going to need that once we get to Akainu on the final stage. So we're basically just relying on Akainu and his burn damage to take out Kobe Helmeppo. On stage 3, though, like on turn 3, sorry, Kobe and Helmeppo give us a full board of block orbs, and they put up defense up. So we really just want to try and take out Kobe. And as you can see, even with block orbs, even with the defense up, Akainu's just like, nah, dude, I got color affinity and I'm coming for you. This is a repeat of Marineford, Kobe. I'm coming for you. We're just going to let the burn do the rest on Helmeppo, and that way we can move on to the next stage. Against Smoker, Hina, and Tashigi now, they give us 2 turns of Despair, and they bind our bottom row for 3 turns, respective to your sockets. It's like 6 turns, but it goes down to 3 if you have max sockets. So what we're going to do on this particular turn, we can switch with V2 Viva Rebecca to give us a chain boost, and then we can use their special to remove the bind, and with Robin we remove the despair, we get a nice heal, and we get damage reduction. That Robin support, when you can actually use it, is so damn good. Another thing to note about this particular stage is you actually get a full board of unfavorable slots or T&D, which they make unfavorable for the rest of the fight. Now, ideally, you want to try and get an orb on either Sugar or Jack, and that way you can actually take out Tashigi on the first turn. If you don't take out Tashigi, she will give you an attack down, which can be a little bit annoying, but it's not that big of an attack down, and I think it's only for like 1 turn, so if you cop that, don't stress. The burn will basically just carry you through that stage anyway, but it can help out. On to the Kizaru stage now. Kizaru puts up a perfect barrier for 2 perfects, and he makes it harder to hit those perfects, which is really, really annoying. Now, ideally, you kind of want to take an extra turn on this particular stage. Now, I actually stuffed up, and I took him out in 1 turn with the Akainu special, and that way I actually didn't have my Akainu special ready to go by the final stage. I was literally 1 turn off. So if you have your Akainu Limit Break keyed, which I do, I just don't have it maxed out because I ran out of materials, Limit Break keying Germa 66, you should get that 1 turn of cooldown by the final stage. But otherwise, you might want to take a turn or 2 on Kizaru. He does remove your sound effects, but with Moria, you can actually see through that, and then you have Barrier Pen with Akainu as well. On to the next stage against Fuji, though. Fuji only lets us attack with 4 units, so we are going to use the special of Akainu here. Akainu's special is actually so ridiculously overpowered. Being able to give yourself a full board of orbs, an orb boost for 2 turns, and a 3.5 or a 3 to 3.5 times chain lock is actually ridiculously strong for 1 special. And as you can see, even without hitting perfects, I missed them all because of the block perfects, we still managed to kill Fuji super, super easy. Once we've done that, we're basically just going to stall on these Chicky Babes until the 89 turns. So I'm going to fast forward till there. Alright, so here we are at the 89 turn mark. So the girl's going to run away, and that way we can move on to the final stage against Akainu. Now against Akainu, he is going to turn into the opposite color to our captain, which is really nice. That way we have color affinity, which is awesome. On this stage against Akainu, he's actually going to blow away all our cumulative buffs. And as you can see, I am literally just 1 special shy of my Akainu special, which kind of sucks. So what we're going to do on this particular stage, we're going to use the Jack special just so we can take advantage of the Smoker support. And that way we can get an attack boost to our quick units. We can then use the switch ability of our V2 Viva Rebecca for a chain boost mechanic, and then use their special to give us an orb boost to our Cerebrals and our Strikers, which is mainly buffing Sugar and Jack. And then we can actually use the verse ability of Akainu versus Ace. That way we can get a conditional boost, which is really, really nice, and just guarantee us a little bit of extra damage if we could. But unfortunately, Akainu has full immunity, but it was nice to see that pretty animation. We do have a burn mechanic as well on this particular stage against Akainu. He only lets us use 2 specials as well, so there's the double Akainu team just has so much HP, it doesn't matter too much. You can just hit your perfects and you're fine. But once you kill Akainu, he actually revives. Once he revives, you want to use the Sugar special with the treble support to remove the threshold he puts up. And then ideally, like, you'd want to have that Akainu special ready to go too, so that way you have an orb boost and a full board of orbs, but we still managed to get it done with Sugar. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure to go down there and belt the like button for me, and if you are new to the channel, hit the big red subscribe button too. But guys, wherever you are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. As always, homies, I thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Lights!